A top Air Force general warned troops that they should be ready for potential warfare, meaning military action against China in 2025. Now, this is General Michael Minihan, and based on some of the things he said previously, even before telling troops to get ready for war with China, we're pretty unhinged. We'll get to those unhinged quotes in just a moment. But first, the topic at hand. Why does he think that troops need to be ready for war with China in 2025? Well, he says elections have a lot to do with it. I hope I'm wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. Xi, meaning Xi Jinping, secured his third term and set his war council in October of 2022. Taiwan's presidential elections are in 2024. And will offer Xi a reason. United States' presidential elections are in 2024 and will offer Xi a distracted America. Xi's team, reason, and opportunity are all aligned for 2025. Okay, so then Minihan directs airmen who are qualified to use a weapon to fire a clip into a 7-meter target with a full understanding that unrepentant lethality matters most sometime in February. Aim for the head, he said. So he's training them to get ready for war with China. This person should not have any position in the military, because just based on this memo that he sent to the troops, and based on previous statements he has made about the wonderful lethality of the Air Force, it seems like he's got this lust for killing people, for going to war. And going to war with China is not a small thing. And I think if you take a step back, a broader question is, if China does invade Taiwan, is it the United States' responsibility to intervene, and more importantly, to have boots on the ground?
Yeah, well, that's a giant question. But first, let's handle this maniac. So, look, guys, are you the general's job to get ready for contingencies? Absolutely. Do you need preparedness? Absolutely. In fact, he took part in an exercise that was one of the biggest military exercises we've ever had in the Pacific Ocean, and all of that makes sense, right? If you're doing a training exercise, by the way, on shooting a weapon, aiming for the target, aiming for the head of the target, etc., that makes sense, right? The problem is when you put it together. Now, we're nowhere near a conflict with China right now. Here's a top general in the American military saying, now get ready to shoot them in the head. But wait a minute, what department are you in? Well, I looked it up. He's in charge of transportation in the Asian perimeter, right? So, wait, what? So it's an important job, but they've got to get certain ships and et cetera to certain places, and the military needs that. But it is not a job where people need to get ready now to shoot Chinese folks in the head. For him to put that in a memo when he's talking about a war that he thinks is gonna start somehow in 2025 is absurd. And then when you read the quotes Anna's gonna give you in a minute about what he generally thinks about unrepentant lethality, you go, oh, okay, I get it, this guy's totally unhinged. So, but then the question is, how many US generals are as unhinged as this guy? He appears to not be warning about military conflict with great trepidation.
Right.
He appears to be looking forward to it.
Exactly. And look, take a step back and look at the bigger picture, including the rhetoric that we've been hearing from elected leaders. Nancy Pelosi's provocative trip to Taiwan specifically meant to be provocative toward China. You had both Donald Trump and Joe Biden run campaign ads in 2020 being incredibly antagonistic toward China. And guys, let me just be clear about something. The antagonism toward China has more to do with the fact that we enabled them in basically building up their economy, and now we're upset about it. The US government's upset about it. Well, you allowed for corporations to exploit cheap labor in China to the point where they manufacture almost everything. And then we get hit with COVID, our supply chains suffer because if China shuts down, we can't do anything about that, right? So there's all this like bitterness about the economic aspect of China. And all of the rhetoric I've been hearing from politicians tries to make it seem like China's a real threat to our national security. And so far, the only real threat I see to national security is the discourse itself, which keeps escalating the situation when we should not be escalating the situation. But let me give you some more comments from him, from the general here, Minihan. Now, he also told all personnel reporting to him that they should, quote, consider their personal affairs and be more aggressive about training. In fact, he instructs them, run deliberately, not recklessly. Let's just pause right there. What does it mean to run recklessly?
I think it's like this. China's coming, ah!
You freak. Okay, but let me continue. If you are comfortable in your approach to training, then you are not taking enough risk. That sounds reckless. That sounds pretty reckless, bro.
I don't mind that part. Like, you want to push your guys to the edge when you're training them, no problem. But remember, guys, this is the other disconnect. These are not guys that just got into the service and they have to train them up physically and teach them how to shoot a weapon, etc. This is his air mobility command. So he's telling senior officials in the military, run like a madman, get ready to shoot Chinese people in the head when they're in transport and refueling. Okay, is it conceivable that those people would see combat at some point? Yes. Do they need to be training for shooting Chinese people in the head now in a panic when they're in refueling? No, and they're senior officers. It makes no sense at all. This guy's just dying for a fight, which is the main thing I want to say in a second, but more quotes.
So these are statements from this general, previous statements, not having to do with China per se, but it gives you a sense of this guy's like real lusty for combat. Okay, so he says in September, he said at a military conference outside of Washington that the Air Force had caused the largest pile of our nation's enemy dead.
And he said it in a positive way.
Yeah, he was bragging about it.
He was bragging, like, not like, oh, that's unfortunate, but we had to. The firebombing of Tokyo killed 500,000 people, including grandmothers and children, and that's super unfortunate, but there was nothing we could do, is one way of framing it. The other way of, the most pile of dead, we win. Okay, lunatic, take it easy, as you're gonna see from the next quote.
He says, quote, lethality matters most. When you can kill your enemy, every part of your life is better. Your food tastes better, your marriage is stronger.
If that's what you need to make your marriage stronger, you have massive mental health issues, okay? Oh, honey, good news, I'm in a good mood, I just murdered someone. Jesus, okay. So look, guys in the military have to kill people, that's not the issue. The issue is when the guy appears to be, as Anna put it perfectly, lusting for a fight. And because he thinks it's gonna make him more erect. I mean, he's almost telling you that.
It makes your marriage better.
Yeah, it makes your food taste better when you pile up dead bodies. Okay,
someone get this guy a joint, like that'll help you out.
And by the way, if you're in the middle of fighting Nazis, maybe you need a guy like that, right? But when you're in the middle of peacetime and this guy's jonesing to pick a fight with a nuclear power, which is the second largest power in the world, that is a recipe for disaster, okay? So guys, think about it. Why do they have guys like this in the military? It's like telling a bunch of race car drivers, you've got all these amazing race cars, okay, McLarens and Ferraris and stuff, but you can't use any of them. You know what happens? They want to use them. They want to use them. And these are military guys who this guy says killing people turns them on. And he's like, I got all this military equipment. I got my gun ready. I want to use it. It's the old line about when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Yeah. And so if China's looking like a nail to our military, that is a massive problem for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's this vicious cycle where it is true that China has invested far more into its military, building up its military capabilities. And the United States looks at that and says, oh, well, that's a threat. I mean, they're building up their military capabilities. I mean, let's forget the fact that the United States increases the defense budget every single year without any problem. So we keep building up our military, but we turn around and we, of course, criticize any other country that does the same. But could it be that some of the rhetoric coming from elected lawmakers, some of the memos that generals are sending to troops that antagonize China, seem to lust for war with China, could persuade Chinese officials to want to invest more in their military with the fear that the United States might actually pursue military action against them. You get what I'm saying?
100%. And look, the number one problem in these conflicts is when the other side thinks the other guys are dangerous and they're gonna act first, right? So I've gotta act before that madman attacks first, right? And this puts that thought into Chinese military leaders' heads, for sure. And it's not like they're not keeping tabs on us. They're perfectly aware of this memo.
Of course.
So imagine if we got a memo of Chinese generals saying, let's start practicing putting bullets in the heads of American soldiers. And you know what? I have better sex with my wife after I kill people. And I love the piling up of dead bodies. If any of our opponents, first of all, if like a member of Al Qaeda or Taliban said it, we'd be like, monsters! Can you look at this dead? They brag about piling up dead bodies and killing people, etc. An American general says it, and I guarantee you everyone in the right wing is going, yeah, boy, we kill them first. But that's what starts wars, you morons. And by the way, I thought the right wing was against wars. These days, you know how they're pretending to be the peaceniks? So I guarantee you every supporter of this guy is massively right wing. Right?
Whatever, it doesn't matter. The military itself, the culture within it, again, the lust for combat, it's a problem. And this kind of rhetoric is incredibly irresponsible. And you're right, I have no doubt that the Chinese government, of course, keeps tabs on us and is fully aware of these kinds of memos. They're needlessly antagonistic. Let's bring the temperature down and be responsible. But these are the kinds of generals we have in the military.
And we have, and look, I'm sure it's true of the Chinese, true of everybody, but we have no ability to be objective. Again, if the Chinese said this about us, we'd go to DEFCON 4, right? We'd be like, oh my God, it's happening now, let's get ready. And we expect them to be like, oh no, it's cool. And last thing about it, guys, there's one set of folks that win through all this. As always, the defense contractors. So these guys say, we gotta pile up weapons. The Chinese then understandably say, we have to pile up weapons. Then we understandably say, we have to pile up more weapons. And guess who gets poor? American people, Chinese people. Guess who gets rich? Defense contractors. Guess where generals go after they retire? Defense contractors.
Yep.
So that's how this game is played. You want to get ready for war? You're in the refueling business. Practice this. Oh, right, I got the thing, pump, and I refuel, okay? Don't be a maniac. Here at TYT, we work to cut through all the establishment media's biases and bring you the news from a factual and progressive viewpoint. Now, allow me to introduce you to Ground News, a new tool that you can use to stay informed on what's really going on around the world. Ground News doesn't just bring you the information, it also provides you with an easy-to-use rating system that measures each article's political leanings, factuality, and gives you complete transparency on who owns the news that you're reading. Like today, I was on their site, and I saw an article about some improvements in the ozone layer. And I was a little skeptical because good news about the climate is pretty rare these days. But with over 100 sources originating from an even spread of news organizations, I was confident that what I was reading was true. So score one for Earth. So get the whole picture and break through the corporate media agenda by subscribing to Ground News today.